some of that we can do as part of a public-private partnership. For example, we intend to build, this is just one example, I know you're doing it here in Newark too, we intend to build on the New Brunswick campus a conference center that will be built as part of a public-private partnership, with the financing and the operations being done by a private individual, not individual corporation. Part of that is that they will build a big parking garage. And part of the deal is that we get to use the parking garage a significant percentage of the time for our students and faculty. So we have to think creatively that every time we put a building up, where are the people going to park? Or every time we put a building up, is it helping to solve the parking problem? Sometimes it means putting a couple of layers of parking underground, which are about 2 or 3 times as expensive as surface stalls are. But in the long run, get the cars off the street, improve the traffic flow, and help the problem. So in some cases, it's spending a little more now for a building to get that advantage farther on, but I think the return on the investment is clear. Unfortunately, they all take time. So we've got to look for the short-term fixes that the Chancellor's been working on, the algorithmic fixes that are how do we get people in and out in the right time frames and make sure we use the spaces that are only used part of the day for other people in afternoons and evenings, and that sort of thing. Okay?
So let me add a little to that. We are really taking what I would call a two-pronged approach. One is to make public transportation as usable as possible, to really think from a sustainability perspective. So new buses, the kinds of transportation hubs that the President was talking about that are in the master plan, a variety of ways. Newark, as you know, is a tremendous transportation hub. And so we really need to make use of that. We're never going to be able to have parking spots for every individual, and we shouldn't. If we're a campus that really cares about sustainability, we ought to really make it easy to use public transportation. The other prong is to make the kinds of arrangements that the President was talking about. We made an arrangement down near RBS with the county, with Essex County, to get some spots. We're talking about even potentially valet parking arrangements with a variety of the private owners that are in the area who do parking. And then we're talking about various consolidation plans where certain structures will be students, certain structures will be staff and faculty. So we're really looking at the whole thing. Jack is here, I think. Where's Jack? Right behind. Jack, do you want to add to any of that?
Jack Molnar is the Director of Transportation. He was down in New Brunswick. He moved his office up here to Newark a few weeks ago. So,
I think it's great.
yes, so welcome.
Thank you. The other thing I would like to add, I mean, everything you said, that's what we have been working on, and obviously, President, parking is a challenge. Everyone knows that here. One other thing that we are doing, I want to promote, is we started a transportation survey for Newark campus just today. Went online, and I was going to, I'll talk to everyone about that. Go to that, and we specifically ask you if you can't find a space, what time of day is it, where, and that will help us as data sets to find out where the problem is and what time of day. We kind of know that, but we want to get your feedback as well. And there's a lot of other questions there, so please go to that and just know that we are working on it, and we want to get that fixed as well.
You're not thinking of changing the past the way...
No, I'm not thinking of doing the prepaid versus pay-as-you-go. That was a problem in the fall that I saw. We were looking to try to change it to actually help students. It was seen as that we were trying to make more money. That wasn't the case. But so then we just went back on that try, and we just opened it back up again to the prepaid permit. But we're looking at all those things, and we'll be working with the students on that as well, because we have to, and it's important.
Yeah, and Jack is open to listening to any advice or any suggestions that you guys may have. I've been working with him since he's been here in the fall, and he's been great. So if anybody has any suggestions or ideas on how to improve parking, I'm pretty sure he's more than willing to hear you guys out.
Yeah, let me just pile on with this, in that, I was addressing parking specifically, and Nancy makes an incredibly important point, and that is it's not just parking, it's access, and transportation is a key part of that. We have put in additional buses and rerouted the buses. That's a work in progress that I know Jack is looking at to optimize it and tweak it. In one of my previous lives, we were right in the center of the city and actually had huge parking problems and used many of the private lots around by contract and had our buses basically picking up at the private lots. We even went so far as to have a remote lot that was quite a ways away with a shuttle bus that brought people in and out at a much lower price. So there are ways that we can address this besides parking right on campus, but the transportation issue is one that we've got to make part of the solution. So Jack, I know you're working on that.
We have a question over here.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having this forum. My question, actually not so much my question, but my comment, is one of transparency. I feel as a student here, we're not privy to a lot of information. And to my point, there's a program afoot for wireless, this wireless transition. I'm not aware of it. I don't know if anyone else is aware of it. You just pointed it out. And so I believe that the process of transparency and communication with the student body is one that could benefit from expanding that. And then a follow-up to that is congratulations on the raising $1.3 billion, which is an astronomical sum. Yeah. 1.03, okay. Excuse me for the 200 names plus. But that, nonetheless, how much of that would be allocated for our purposes here at Newark? And given that everything has been given a 5 to 10 year window, what can we see in the immediate 6 to 12 months that are going to benefit us in terms of services, facility upgrades, the gym particularly, or the cafeteria area?
Yeah.
And also, what are we doing to encourage local businesses to build around here and support us?
Yeah, no, those are excellent questions. So let me see if I can dissect them and answer them one at a time. First is the issue of transparency, and that's something that folks in my senior management team have been working very hard on. I know Nancy feels the same way that I do. It's getting the message out there, and so often we find that something we're working hard to do, people don't even know we're doing it. And we think we're doing it because they want it, and it turns out they don't even know it. So we've been trying things like weekly newsletters and conversations with the student leadership that then get out to their newsletters, and trying to do what we're doing right now. I'm committed to be here on this campus at least once a semester. Up in New Brunswick, our chancellor has an open forum with students once a month. Just anybody wants to come, anything you want to talk about. So we have to be accountable and transparent, or you won't know how hard we're working, and we're really working hard. Right? So that's the purpose. Now, there is a lot to be done. That's one of the things I want to get you to appreciate, but you need to understand where we are on it. And the unfortunate part is sometimes you don't see the product until a lot of infrastructure things happen. And if you don't know they're happening, you think nothing's going on. And then all of a sudden, the last minute, oh, somebody turned a switch on. But the fact is that there are real work products that are going on that we have Gantt charts and flow sheets for. We can tell you exactly what they are. They're no secret. They're out there. We're accountable to the board for them. I'd be happy to provide that information at the university level, and I'm certain that Todd and Nancy would be happy to have that conversation at the level here. Now, in terms of the fundraising, as I said earlier, we're delighted that Rutgers University-Newark has exceeded its fundraising goal. It's at $109 million with a goal of 83, and all of that is money for Rutgers University in Newark. And one of the things that I personally have been doing, working with Nancy and her leadership team, is to re-engage the funders that have an interest in Newark, the people that we think are philanthropically predisposed to contribute to Newark. We think we have done that. We are doing that. We have some major new donors here that weren't here before. Look, I just have to point out, I know we all lost a great colleague in Clem Price here on this campus just a couple of months ago. And I have to tell you, when I came up to dedicate the new institute in his name, that in less than how many months was it? 2 months, 2.5 months? We were able to raise $5+ million for that institute here in Newark, mainly from donors who are right here in this community. So on a percentage basis, that's really moving right along. Now, when you look at the $1 billion, keep in mind that's over 7 years, right? And so that those dollars have been rolling in. What you have to think about is how do we deal with the roughly $150 to $200 million that we try to raise every year? And we try to distribute that based on the activities of the campuses and who's raising what money. And what can we do to push that money out? So if you look at where the capital construction is being done, for example, and we'll take some responsibility for getting through the building our future bond act. If you look at where the money is coming from for the construction, it's coming from that. It's coming in part from the fact that we were able to restructure our debt when we took on UMDNJ. We took on their debt at BBB. We put it back out at new debt at AA, which is our debt. We used the arbitrage to generate a debt service that could take on more capacity, and then we distributed it. So if you look at where that construction is being done, it's absolutely being distributed percentage-wise on each of our 3 campuses. Right? If you look at what's happening with the state appropriation now, it is being distributed on each of our 3 campuses by a line item percentage basis. We're moving towards RCM, this responsibility-centered management, where our expenses are not opaque, they're transparent, and they're distributed to each campus and then eventually to each school based on usage with formulae that we all agree on. We're working through those formulae right now. So I think you'll find the system is actually much more transparent. And I will stand behind the relative allocation of resources between the campuses as of this year going forward. Absolutely. Okay.
Thank you. So I'm just going to read a few questions that we have on paper. The first one is, what is Rutgers Newark doing to increase research technology in data centers? As a research institution, that should be a primary concern. I don't know if Dr. Nabil is here. Is Dr. Nabil here?
I don't know that Nabil is here, but I can begin to address that, and Todd may want to add to that. So we are actually doing quite a bit. We are really expanding reach in terms of focus areas. So neuroscience, big expansion, big data, a big expansion, a big data center, and that will have a lot of technology obviously with it. And thinking about strong, healthy, safe neighborhoods and the kinds of anchor work we do there, plus educational pathways. So we've got a number of focus areas where faculty are coming together from Rutgers University-Newark, from RBHS, from NJIT, and we're all coming together to really put a lot of infrastructure and a lot of emphasis on that. Todd, I don't know if you want to add to that.
Just say that Nabil Adam formed a research advisory council earlier this year, and that group has been working to identify strategies for growing our research infrastructure as well. That includes 2 kinds of activities. One is that we have just received a series of grant proposals from the faculty and student groups about creating integrated growth in the research area. And we'll be making some announcements later this summer about later this semester about investments we're going to make in that area. The second is that there's an awful lot of technology that is available to us through partnerships. And we are both with RBHS, Rutgers Biomedical and Health Sciences, with NJIT just across the road, and also with Rutgers University-New Brunswick, where we have strong partnerships. And so we're increasing our access to technology through, we can't obviously afford to grow all the technology on ourselves, but through creating those partnerships, we can provide access for students to new technologies and for research partnerships with faculty members as well.
So let me just pile on that for a minute, because there's another layer to this, and that's the pipes and wires and capacity. That we have a major renovation going on right now. I mentioned that a little bit before when I was talking about the ERP infrastructure. Let me just give you kind of an example. When I walked in the door 2.5 years ago, we had 128 different email systems at this university. 128 different email systems, all run by separate little servers in somebody's closet or somebody's office or whatever. By next year, we will have none. All right, they'll all be outsourced, and you know that the students are already outsourced, and so we can't operate a university with that many points of failure and with that many points of access for cyber security. And we have to upgrade that with virtual servers that consolidate things in one location. Second example, we had no data center for the entire university that was better than a level 1. We have to have at least a level 3 or level 4 data centers, and they have to be redundant and they have to be offsite. So by next year, we will have our first 2 data centers up and running. That means sweeping all these servers from where they are now, putting them off-site, reconfiguring them, and getting them up and running. It's a huge technical issue, but if we're going to supply you the computing environment that you need, that's what has to be done. We have to reconfigure some of the fiber optics cables and switches that allow us to get to all our buildings more effectively and more efficiently with a higher bandwidth than you have right now. I mean, we don't have what I would consider even standard, but state-of-the-art bandwidth and our research facilities and our academic facilities. That is changing, and it will be changing while you're here. And the other thing that we've just done is to set up a separate group at the senior management level that looks at academic computing infrastructure. This is research computing, not computing in the classroom. The really high throughput, high capacity, blue jeans kind of computational environment. Nancy alluded to it with big data. We have big data in spades in the protein crystal structure and DNA database that we maintain virtually for the world, and with RUCDR for DNA and cell lines and things like that. But we do it in a variety of environments, and we don't have the capacity to get out there to Internet 2. We don't have the capacity to be time sharing on the Cray computers. We don't have the capacity to keep our own Beowulf clusters and our own Blue Gene system up and running. But that's now been elevated to my level, and we're about to go out and recruit a chief information officer for the university. Instead of having that buried down 2 levels, again, somebody that reports directly to me, that's accountable to me, to hit all these benchmarks and all these business plans to get this job done. So we think it's a huge problem. We're working hard to fix it. Bear with us a little bit.
Yes, good afternoon. In your opening remarks, you mentioned the move to the Big Ten, and I was just wondering if you could speak specifically to how it's going to directly impact the Newark campus.
Sure. Obviously, the Big Ten, in quotes, is Division I athletics, which is synonymous with the New Brunswick campus. And so it is the Big Ten itself, but it isn't your sports teams. You guys are doing a great job down here, by the way, I must say. And in Camden, we're so proud of the way the student athletes are performing there. But what it does do is that there is the halo effect of the brand. So when you're out there with Rutgers, they don't ask you to do Rutgers Camden or Rutgers Newark or Rutgers Piscataway, you're Rutgers. So when people across the country see Rutgers, they see all of us. And that's tremendously important. And when people who are going to Rutgers Newark hear their friends in California talk about, oh, you're going to Rutgers, it's important for people here too. It improves your ability to recruit students. It improves your ability to attract donors to the program. We're looking for this to raise all boats. And then specifically, part of the Big Ten is the CIC. And the CIC is the academic collaboration of the Big Ten universities that provides a whole bunch of things in terms of access to scholarship, access to courses, access to libraries, where we have, I don't know what it was, another 100 million books or something crazy number like that, that we can now access to our faculty and students online, that we're trying our best to push out across our entire university and make sure that that kind of resource is available to everybody.